on, guys? Welcome on back to Second and Short. My name is Tyler Louder, and I am joined with my co-host Aaron Ben. And today we are back for Monday Movers, our, in my eyes, fictional power rankings that don't mean anything.
They mean a lot.
And in Aaron's eyes, they are his world.
They're everything.
Aaron, though, how are you doing, man? Your team is in firm position of that division title.
Yeah, man, I feel great. It always feels great to beat up on the Jags. Kind of sucks seeing the Colts win. Kind of have a hard time accepting the Bills winning because that kind of keeps us down in the 4th seed. But overall, doing good. How have you been?
I've been well, man. I've been well. You know, I'm at this weird part where I'm trying to figure out if I'm being a bad fan, if I want my team to have a better draft pick since they can't make the playoffs. And it's like this weird internal struggle. They score a touchdown, you cheer, and then they lose, and you just like find a silver lining. I think that's what I'm doing. I'm finding silver linings. But
yeah, silver linings, man.
let's jump on in. You know, the tens of you guys are ready to see where these guys are moving up and down.
Tens, yeah, optimistic.
So let's start with Thursday Night Football. We had the New England Patriots taking on the Los Angeles Rams, and this is pretty simple. If you saw our fantasy, Friday video, our thumbnail, our cover page reflects who had a great game, and that was Cam Akers. Cam Akers had 31 total touches, 194 yards total, good for 5.9 yards per carry. This guy just destroyed the Patriots' run defense.
Yeah, and I mean, he didn't get into the end zone, but it just looked like every time he got the ball, he was going for at least 5-6 yards, like getting first down after first down. He looked really good, and he really did have that coming out party that we kind of predicted, so hats off to us.
Yeah, man, we've been talking about this for a while, and he truly is coming into his own. He is what everybody's been expecting. Big ups for us here is Cam Akers. And getting it down is this Patriots offensive line. Their run blocking, their pass blocking, it's poor. There has been TikToks, there's been GIFs, there's been memes, all about how the offensive line is so bad. Like, we literally saw their left guard, I think it was Isaiah Wynn, see Aaron Donald, and instead of like trying to block him, he just kind of froze, so it didn't look like he got manhandled by Aaron Donald, and Aaron Donald just drilled Cam Newton. I mean, how is a quarterback supposed to play if they're getting hit that much?
Yeah, I mean, and if you're gonna keep Cam back there and try and get one of those rookie quarterbacks from the draft, it doesn't matter who's there. You're still gonna have a bad time if you can't protect him. Look at Joe Burrow. We talked about it all year, and now he's sitting on the sideline with a busted up knee. So, first of all, for most important, almost as important as a quarterback, is the offensive line.
Yeah, here's what I always wonder as like a huge Cam Newton fan. I've always wondered what it would be like if he played in Green Bay his whole career. Just like with an offensive line that like gives you enough time to like drop back and like send a phone call to your mom and like hear about her day and then throw the ball, Cam Akers gets it up and the New England Patriots blocking gets it down. Let's fast forward to Sunday's action. Let's just get this out of the way. Denver Broncos take on the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to stand by my word that Drew Lock is just a guy. However, that doesn't mean he can't show up and perform. And that's what he did against Carolina's young pass defense.
Yeah, it's exactly like my very best friend Cody said. You just like kind of think Drew Lock sucks and you're ready to move on. You're ready to accept that like really high draft pick that he sucked his way into getting you, and then he comes out and he throws for 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions against the Carolina Panthers. So kind of an anomaly. Usually he's terrible, and then you saw what he did yesterday. So big ups from him this week, I guess.
Yeah, and here's the thing that we have to remember, though. Like, I know a lot of Broncos fans are going to be like, oh, man, yeah, he roasted Carolina's defense. He threw all those touchdowns. Carolina's pass defense is very strong. We've been talking about this all year. They are very young on defense, very young. And they're still learning, and he took advantage of the open spots that they had. And even though he did not have an interception for the first time since week 1, he still lost a fumble. Jeremy Chin our current defensive rookie of the year, had a strip sack on him. Carolina almost returned to the house, which puts Denver 14 consecutive games with a giveaway. That is an issue that they got to fix going forward. And what gets it down here is game management. This is another game where the Carolina Panthers fail to put it together in the fourth quarter. They have had, now officially, they have lost 7 of 9 games by 1 score, which to me sums up fourth quarter delivery.
Yeah, and it all comes down to coaching. I think, in my opinion, I think Matt Rule is a good coach. I like what I've seen so far from him. And you have to think that these are kind of like first-year rookie head coach jitters, and I think he'll get them cleaned up by year 2.
Yeah, I think so as well. I really do. But it's not only just him, but it's Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator. We see like really weird things from this game where Carolina gets a stop on Denver. They literally can't. They go down. They got to score 2 touchdowns. They score in like a minute. It seemed like it was nothing. It was like 5 plays done. And then they get a 3 and out on Denver because of that squib kick. And then they get decent field position. You got to go 60 yards, score a touchdown. Getting a delay of game inside the Denver 10-yard line in the final 6 minutes, terrible. Trying to beat the 2-minute warning, it makes no sense. Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Rule, Joe Brady, they all had some mishaps here, little mistakes here and there. And the bad news for them is that they have Green Bay on Saturday. The good news for them is Carolina has already won more games than they were supposed to win this year based on projections. So let's move on to the next game, which is Chicago Bears just destroying the Houston Texans. I mean, let's start with a down here. Poor Deshaun Watson. This guy cannot stay on his feet. It's even worse than in New England.
It's been an issue like his entire time there. They've been constantly talking about how bad his offensive line is. They tried to address it by trading in half of their draft picks for Laramie Tunsil, and he's been great. He's been everything advertised, but an offensive line is 5 guys. It's not just one left tackle. They haven't done anything to address the other positions. And poor Deshaun Watson. I mean, I'm glad that they're losing, but it sucks to see such a good talent just kind of go to waste with that offensive line.
Yeah, so hear this out. So he got sacked 7 times this Sunday, 13 times over the past 2 games. This was his 13th game of getting sacked 5+ times in his career. That's insane. Now, with that side of the ball, the Texans getting it down, naturally, we're going to give it up to somebody on the Bears team. And to me, the person that played the best, who continues to play the best, that might be, we're going to have to just do it. We got to put him in this special category. Allen Robinson is QB proof. It does not matter who is throwing him the ball. This guy is top tier.
Yeah, he looked really good. He had 13 targets, caught 9 passes, 123 yards and a touchdown. And he played well. He played well when he had Blake Bortles throwing to him. And he's playing well with Mitch Trubisky, playing well with Nick Foles. Like, he's the only constant on the Bears team. David Montgomery had a good game. He has a good game here and there. But it seems like Allen Robinson is the only player on that offense that constantly shows up and is constantly, like, playing well.
Yeah, 9 catches on 13 targets, 123 yards, and a touchdown. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the offseason. I want to know what's going to happen with Robinson. He needs to play for a better team. His talent is getting wasted.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw him like a bunch of tweets last week about him going to a different team after this year's over. We'll see what happens with that.
Now, talking about somebody that went to a different team, the Dallas Cowboys took on the Cincinnati Bengals, and, the Cincinnati Bengals, they cut Andy Dalton free. Now, hold up. Pause, everybody listening, everybody that's a sports fan, writing or whatever. As much as this is a good revenge game, and it was, he got his W. The Bengals didn't do him wrong. They were the worst team last year with him. They went out and got the new shiny model in Joe Burrow. Why keep Andy Dalton? Type thing. It made sense, realistically. But talk about why Andy Dalton is getting it up for us today.
Oh yeah, and I for sure agree with you. Like, I think he couldn't even fault them for deciding to go with Joe Burrow. Just needed a change of direction. But yeah, he came back to Cincy, threw for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, nothing like real spectacular, nothing like eye-popping, but he got the win, and I bet he feels pretty good about himself. I mean, as much as you like to play it cool and like be humble, I bet it feels good to beat your former team.
Yeah, he was saying in interviews that, like, it's all good, whatever, it's just another game. But as soon as the game was over, he was like, man, that felt really good. And I'm sure it did, but it can't be that much of a sour taste. Like, it's the relationship shouldn't be broken where, like, one day we couldn't see Andy Dalton return and retire as a Bengal. Like, that's going to happen. While we give credit to Andy Dalton and those Cowboys for doing well, the Cincinnati Bengals were trying to cover, Las Vegas spread, of their over-under, and was like, all right, let's just get this out of the way. Let's fumble 3 times right a row to start our, our game. We'll be down a bunch, and then we can start playing, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Their first 3 drives all ended in fumbles. First one led to a field goal. Second one was actually the defense returned it for a touchdown. And then the third one led to a touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. So that put them in the hole. That's 17 points that you put up against yourself. And that's not how you win football games, Tyler.
It is not how you win football games. It is a very proven strategy to lose football games.
Time and time again.
Now, another way that you can lose football games is to just blow leads. We see teams do this all the time where they come out and they're on fire and they play really well, and then next thing you know, they're giving up way too many points. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs did. They start off very slow. Like 2 interceptions in that first quarter. Miami goes up. Miami was up, I think, 10-0 a little bit into the second quarter. And then Kansas City turned it on. However, what gets it down for us here is Kansas City's fourth quarter defense. Again, they are at risk of losing games because they cannot put teams away at the end. They still get a win, so it's hard to bash them. But in that fourth quarter, they allowed 17 points, and this game ended as a 6-point difference. Talk about that defense.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the defense a couple of years ago with Kansas City, where defense was terrible. They just had to outscore everyone in order to win, kind of like what the Titans are doing this year. And last year, they kind of tightened up, especially in the second half of the season. I think Chiefs fans may kind of just be telling themselves, oh, it's okay, like, we still won. But I think this is something that could get you into a lot of trouble in the playoffs.
It can, and while their offense is good, and their offense is good enough, it's great. It is good enough to win them games. It's just too risky, and there's no reason for it, in my opinion, to put too much risk on that. You have a big lead, just put them away. And the issue here is running backs getting hurt for them. They can't keep people healthy. If you have better run game, then you can drain the clock. You prevent these teams from coming back into games. But getting it up for us is right now somebody that is going to be fighting Derrick Henry for Offensive Player of the Year, and that is Travis Kelce.
Yeah, to be leading the NFL in receiving yards, that's a huge achievement. Not many players do that, but to be doing it as a tight end, that's absolutely insane. We've never seen that before. It's just a huge achievement. I mean, you're playing with the best quarterback in the game. That helps, but that's just an amazing achievement for a tight end to do, and huge respect to that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it last week, but he has now put together 5 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And if you go back to about, I think it was like 2014-ish, 2013 area, Greg Olsen became the first tight end to ever put together 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And Kels had like 1 at the time, and we've seen what's happened here now is that Kels is the first tight end to do 5 consecutive, and I think that's a record that'll never be broken. I think we're at this point where we're getting more athletic players, and Travis Kelce is clearly the best tight end in football. We're kind of seeing, him and Zach Ertz were on this rise together as these top-tier tight ends, and we saw this age cliff coming, and I think it hit Ertz, but it didn't hit Kels. That could be the quarterback play, but Kels looks like he could be the Offensive Player of the Year, to be honest.
Yeah, totally agree. I really do think it's between him and Derrick Henry at this point.
And speaking of which, Derrick Henry is also getting it up for us here. The Tennessee Titans took it to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's not just I have two ups here, because as much as we want to praise Derrick Henry, which we should, I mean, he ran for over 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. That is his 4th 200-yard game of his career. James Robinson became the fastest undrafted rookie to 1,000 rushing yards yesterday. Big ups to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's kind of cheating for every Titans game just to name Derrick Henry as the up. I was thinking maybe Malcolm Butler or the secondary played pretty well. But yeah, James Robinson, I saw a graphic during the game that he's on pace for 1,700 yards from scrimmage as an undrafted rookie. That is crazy. You never see that you never see that ever. that would be a rookie record.
No, you don't see that. And whenever we see undrafted rookies, or undrafted players do well, it's in like their second or third year, and they've known the system for a while. Whatever the Jags do in the draft, whatever they do in the offseason, James Robinson is a building block for this team. It's as simple as that. He is. I'm not saying he's as good as Derrick Henry, but I mean the Jags have to view him the way that the Titans view Derrick Henry, that he's an essential piece to them having any chance to winning games. The reason why he is, and not this next part, is the passing game is so bad. I mean, the Jags passing game was terrible yesterday. And real quick before you jump in, I'm sorry. Why is Gardner Minshew not starting the game to begin with?
That's kind of a point of contention, I think. Some people are kind of saying, it's because they want to tank. Other people are saying he was injured. And I mean, he was injured. Maybe
they do want to tank.
Some people believe in tanking more than others. I think he was injured. Maybe they were just kind of keeping him alive, not trying to get him injured further. But I mean, it's not like he helped them a whole lot. He came into the game sometime in the second half to kind of try and provide a spark, and he did lead them to a touchdown drive. But it was kind of when the Titans were already playing like this prevent defense. Game was already pretty much sealed up. Both quarterbacks combined passed for 31 of 54, or completed 31 of 54 for 263 yards, just a 4.9 yard per attempt, 1 touchdown. That's from Minshew, and then an interception from Glennon. And I mean, that's bad enough, but that's also against the Titans secondary that's just been riddled with injuries. Like almost all of our starting corners are out with injury. We've had 0 pass rush. Like we didn't sack the quarterback at all this game. So it's just a really kind of a pitiful showing from the Jags quarterbacks.
In my opinion, they are trying to tank because they have a tiebreaker over the New York Jets on strength of schedule, where if the Jets get a win, then they're the same record, the Jags get number 1. All right, and next, the Arizona Cardinals got back on track against the New York Giants. It was what we expected from Arizona and what we expected of the New York Giants. Hassan Riddick, 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Oh my God.
Yeah, you don't see very many 5-sack games in the NFL these days. I don't remember the last time I saw it. That's crazy. When I saw the stat line, I thought it was like glitched and that was for the whole team. But 5 sacks for one player, that's amazing.
No, and they really got to him. And Hassan Riddick has been one of those guys that I think this season is playing himself for a new contract. And big ups to him. He gets a huge up for us here. And with that 3 forced fumbles, Daniel Jones had 3 fumbles. He lost a fumble. It was almost like we were watching Taysom Hill out there, and then Dion Lewis and Colt McCoy also lost fumbles. So they had 5 fumbles and lost 3. That's not a way to win games. That's not a way to close out your division. Like, the Giants were the only team in their division to not win yesterday. Their hands, the fumbling, gets it down for us here.
Yeah, they're fumbling away the division lead too. Those dummies. Vikings at Bucks.
The Buccaneers start off very slow. They got back on track. Big thanks to Dan Bailey. Dan Bailey missed 3 field goals, missed an extra point. That's 10 points gone. He is now 12 for 18 on field goals and 27 for 31 on extra points. He has missed 10 kicks this year, and he has cost them multiple games. I'm waiting for him to get cut. It's going to happen soon. We're going to see breaking news time recording this. He gets it down. Who gets an up for us, Aaron?
Bucks defense. They were really impressive yesterday. I know they've kind of been they haven't been as great the last couple of weeks, but yesterday they had 6 sacks. Shaq Barrett had 2 of them. They had 2 forced fumbles. Antoine Winfield, that standout rookie, came in with 12 total tackles, led the team. Also had a sack for himself. Played really well. Just the defense overall, they looked really good.
Junior. Just for anybody clarifying, it's Antoine Winfield Jr., not his dad, I think, who is like 50. So that'd be pretty impressive if his dad was just out there getting like 14 tackles.
You'd have to give him the up then.
All right, Russell Wilson got back on track as the Seahawks did what we were expecting. The Jets are a bad team, yada, yada, yada. We've been saying this forever. It's repetitive. It's boring. The Jets are boring. I was wrong on Ty Johnson being a sleeper this week. He didn't get it done, but Russell Wilson did.
Yeah, and I mean, Russell Wilson, yeah, he looked back to form, 4 touchdowns, had an interception, had just over 200 yards after having a few off games. And I mean, you can only shit on the Jets and give them down so much in one season. The down for me is the Seattle secondary, because they apparently have bricks for hands, or I guess they may have learned from the Giants with all their fumbles. The Seattle secondary dropped I counted at least 3 easy interceptions that could have, I mean, it's funny to say they could have won by more because they won like 40-3, but 3 easy interceptions that could have led to easily 3 more touchdowns against a terrible Jets team.
But this also ties back to what we're talking about with Kansas City, is that if your defense has mental errors and like little lapse in performance, that could be the difference right there of ending a game in the fourth quarter in the playoffs or letting a team drive down and kick the game-winning field goal. Like, if you get something easy in your hands, you got to pick it off. I feel like too often guys are looking at that pick 6 before they're looking at the pick.
Yeah, gotta hit the jugs machines a bit.
All right. A tale of 2 quarterbacks. I'm going to tell you a little story real quick. We got one quarterback, that's really good, another quarterback that's really good, and one gets to go live with this rich family that treats him well, and he's looked at as a king, and the other quarterback has to go live with this other family that hates him and doesn't want him to, they hate him, they don't like him, and they don't want him to be a person. One of those quarterbacks is Aaron Rodgers. The other one's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, Tyler, that was the worst story I've ever heard. But Aaron Rodgers, for me, this game kind of moved him up in the first place for the MVP race. If it was between kind of him and Pat Mahomes before, maybe I had Mahomes just a bit higher. I think with the game that Mahomes had with 3 interceptions and Aaron Rodgers is coming out, throwing for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, added a rushing touchdown on the ground. I think this solidly puts Rodgers into the lead for the MVP race.
I agree. And I think it's not locked up, but I mean, like, if they end similar statistically, I'm going to give it to Rodgers for having a less supporting cast. Now, poor Matt Stafford. I don't know what it is, but this guy, I feel so bad for him. And I feel like he's going to end up leaving Detroit, going somewhere else, winning a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, because he's not going to do it in Detroit. They can't protect him. It's just bad, man. He hurt his ribs yet again.
Yeah, it may be time for him to move on. I mean, not the Lions, they need to keep him forever, but for Stafford, if he wants a championship, you move on from a franchise not going anywhere. He left the game yesterday with a rib injury, ruined any kind of chance of a comeback. Chase Daniel, isn't going to come in and lead a fourth quarter comeback against the Packers. And now, we don't really know what's going on with Stafford the rest of the season. I guess we'll find out in the next coming days, but if I'm him, I might just consider sitting out, not worth taking the risk.
I agree. And now moving on is a situation that is going to be debated about all week. It's going to be debated all offseason. Jalen Hurts got the W in his first start, and he gets an up for us here. Although it's a slight up because his performance wasn't great. He ran for over 100 yards. Talk about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but basically he gets an up because this is his first start as a quarterback who he's not as pro-ready as the other quarterbacks taken ahead of him in the draft. People saw him as a reach being taken in the second round, but he played well against a very, very good New Orleans defense. didn't have any huge mistakes, no turnovers. It threw for an interception. It ran for over 100 yards, like you said, and to help take down the number one seed in the NFC. And opposite that, the one we have moving down our ranks this week for this game is Carson Wentz. The big argument for Wentz this year was that he has no help. His offensive line is dead. He has no receivers. And then Jalen Hurts comes in with the exact same tools that Wentz has and just pulls the dub against number one seed.
Yeah, and I'm probably still going to argue that throughout the offseason. It looked like the team played better. Taysom Hill was, kind of rattled this game. He didn't look as good as he did before. A Saints backup quarterback, the New Orleans Saints, they finally lose when Drew Brees isn't playing. 8-1 over the past 2 years. Still impressive. I still think that they can kind of coast and they're going to be a top 2 or 3 seed. Carson Wentz. We'll see what happens. I think his contract's too big. They can't really move on. It's going to be an expensive backup quarterback if you don't start him in the future. But let's move on to the Chargers, the Falcons, and Matt Ryan was not clutch. This whole Matty Ice persona, I think, has melted away, and I think he's been delivering exactly that, like a warm, Natty Ice type feel, and it's gross.
When you go camping and you wake up the next morning, go to grab a beer, and it's just this lukewarm Natty Ice that's been sitting in cooler water all night. But yeah, he had just 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, including interception in the final 30 seconds that gave Justin Herbert the chance to lead the game-winning drive and make the game-winning field goal. It's kind of tempting to give Anthony Lynn the down here because of the fiasco at halftime with the field goal unit, but ultimately Matt Ryan gets a huge down just for that 1 interception at the end of the game. You can't do that.
Well, with that 1 interception at the end of the game, it provided the Los Angeles Chargers to have a comeback here, and Justin Herbert had a game-winning drive where that interception essentially he led the team. He, as a rookie, showed that he was clutch AF, as you said, and got his team in position within the final 30 seconds to make that game-winning field goal. And he didn't have Keenan Allen. He didn't have Mike Williams that last drive. He did really well. A bounce-back performance for Justin Herbert, and that's what you want to see out of your rookie quarterback. All right.
Speaking of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Can you please explain to me how anybody's it was able to score points this game? How did Washington win with no offensive touchdown?
Yeah, I guess it's a good thing the defense is so incredibly scary, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But the down for us in this game was just the passing from pretty much everyone. When Nick Mullins, who threw for 260 yards, had a 5.8 yards per attempt touchdown interception, when he had a 70.6 passer rating. When that's your top passer of the game, then it's a terrible game, and I'm glad I didn't watch it. Alex Smith went 8 for 19, 57 yards, an interception. Dwayne Haskins came in relief duty, 7 out of 12 for 51 yards. It was just all around bad offensive football. And Washington, how'd they win, Tyler?
They won with 2 defensive touchdowns. Chase Young had a 47-yard fumble return, and Carmen Curl had a 76-yard interception return. And then the field goal unit, they were able to just play okay football on offense. It got them by. They didn't turn the ball over a lot. They didn't allow a lot of sacks. They didn't do bad things. They just couldn't deliver touchdowns on offense. This defense that we keep talking about is looking scary, and I can see Washington hosting a game and beating somebody with a losing record in the playoffs just because their defense is this good.
Yeah, and special shout out to Chase Young, who's looked every bit the part that he's supposed to be as a number 2 pick. He had his sack yesterday, just lit up Nick Mullins. He had 2 pass defenses, had that fumble return for a touchdown. He was just all over the place. He looks like a monster. He's gonna terrorize the league for years to come.
Yeah, big shout out to Chase Young. He's a close personal friend of ours. It's always nice. It's always nice to talk to Chase on Monday mornings and everything. So.
Yeah, I text.
So talking about a really good defensive performance from Washington that earned them a win, let's talk about a really bad defensive performance that pretty much cost. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about Jonathan Taylor first. Sorry. The Raiders had a bad defense. That's where I'm leading at this, okay? And they had a bad defense because Jonathan Taylor played so well, and he gets a nut for us. Talk about Taylor. Flip-flop, flip-flop.
Yeah, I love, as much as I hate the Colts, I love Jonathan Taylor. Just because he's from Wisconsin, had 20 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had this really long 62-yard run that just kind of, Jonathan Taylor has power, but it's not often that you hear about his speed. But he's got blazing speed sometimes, and he just outran everyone for that touchdown. So big ups for him this week.
It's a true Romeo and Juliet story with him, where your two families hate each other, but you just have love for each other. And
yeah, it's tough.
Now let's fast forward, rewind, whatever it is. With that transition, that terrible transition I was trying to do about like a minute ago. The Las Vegas Raiders defense was porous this weekend. It was terrible. I mean, 44 points they allowed, 456 yards. It was like we were watching a college football game at this point, where one team gets destroyed and the defensive coordinator gets fired 3 hours after the game.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, they have a bunch of talent on defense, and you saw them start to get all those players a couple years ago when Gruden was first hired for the second time, and you're like, all right, well, in a couple of years they're going to be really good, and they just haven't taken that step forward. So defensive coordinator's out of there, and it kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen with them next year.
I will say this right now, is that the race for the 7th seed is very interesting in both conferences.
It is.
The Raiders are still in it. I think their offense is decent enough. Josh Jacobs was banged up this game. He still wasn't 100%. I think that had a big factor. But everything for the Colts just clicked. That one-handed interception by Kenny Moore in the second quarter was sick.
Insane. Yeah. Great catch.
Sunday action's almost over. Everybody's suns go down. The TV volume goes up. And it's Sunday Night Football. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are trying to rebound. The Buffalo Bills are trying to close down and win a division title that they have literally in their grasp because Miami just lost. And the Buffalo Bills, top to bottom, left to right, even the water boy looked good. They just all played well.
Yeah, and it's this was kind of their big test of the season because you saw them get blown out when they were 4-0, got blown out by the Titans early in the season, and then there's kind of this doubt they lost to the Chiefs, and they're a really good team. Yeah, so you're like, okay, well, are they actually going to beat some good teams? And then they came in at Steelers. We're 11-1, and Buffalo Bills they didn't even come out and take the lead right away. They went. It was a tough battle, a tough defensive battle at the beginning. They went down 7-0, and then the interception return right before the half kind of sparked this big comeback, and the Bills ended up winning by 2 scores. It was a pretty impressive victory.
Yeah, and the reason why the Bills were able to have, such an impressive victory was the fact that Big Ben threw 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. He couldn't deliver more than 200 passing yards. I almost just kept reading what you wrote down and everything. I'm not going to read that. And, in the last 3 games, he's had 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions.
You guys know what I wrote.
You guys know if you know Big Ben. This Steelers team is exactly what we've been talking about all year. They are the memes that everybody's been making of, congratulations, you beat this backup quarterback, this terrible team. You barely survived the Jags. They aren't as good as their record shows. You only can beat who you play. But I said this a couple weeks ago. I said Washington is going to beat them. I said Buffalo is going to be a hard game for them. And I also said they still have Cleveland. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose those 3 games. I know they beat Cleveland week 1, but again, week 1 anomaly 2020. And with that, all of our coverage of those games that have already been played at the time of this recording are done. We have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns in Monday Night Football action. And this right here, I think, is a really tricky game. I think the Baltimore Ravens could pull an upset technically because the Browns are playing better. They have a better record right now. I wouldn't be surprised at either win. Who are you going with in this game, Aaron?
Yeah, the Ravens have had the Cleveland Browns number for 20 plus years. Ever since they stole their team. But the Browns have been playing really, really good football lately. I mean, I saw that firsthand last week. They're on a 4-game win streak. I think I have the Browns taking it. I think they're going to win, and I think it's going to be by a decent margin. The Ravens' run defense has been kind of suspect this year, and I think the Browns are going to take advantage.
Yeah, we see the only reason why I'm so hesitant to take the Browns right here, which I'm going to do, is that you said the Browns are on a 4-game win streak. You know, the Ravens are losers of 3 of their last 4 of their last 6, you know, with one of those wins coming against the Dallas Cowboys, which, if we're being fair, that's, you know. Anyways, Cleveland Browns get a win. They get their second 10-win season of the past, 20 years. But this time it's going to help them make the playoffs, unlike back in, was it 09?
That's 07, I think. Derek Anderson, the GOAT.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I agree. I think the Cleveland Browns at this point could win this game 30 to 18, 17, 30 to 17. I don't know where I got 18 from. Missed extra
6
points.
field goals.
I mean, if that's realistic. We're talking about Justin Tucker here. That is realistic.
The Ravens' way to do it.
And that is going to do it for us here on Second and Short and this week's rendition of Monday Movers. Week 14 is almost in the books. Thank you guys for joining us. Click that subscribe button down below to stay up to date on everything that is Second and Short. Be sure to check us out on Fridays for our fantasy football update on studs, duds, and sleepers. Give us a thumbs up, cheapest way to support us, and check us out on all social media platforms such as
Facebook, where we have every episode posted, keeping you guys up to date. Also on Twitter, where we try to interact with all of our with polls and updates and stuff like that. And on Instagram, where we also have not only every episode, but midweek posts. We have news updates, discussion points, a pick'em in our a pick'em poll in our story every Sunday before the game. So hit us up and feel free to send us a message on any platform whenever you want, whatever time of day.
Thanks for listening, and you guys have a great week. See ya.